Hi, and welcome to the Savage Podcast.
I'm Rose, also known as Cheap Lazy Vegan on YouTube.
And I'm Daniel, one of your favorite guest stars on Cheap Lazy Vegan's YouTube channel.
We're two friends who love to talk about the latest trending topics.
So get comfortable and join us while we give our savage take on just about everything.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Savage Podcast.
Welcome back, guys.
Why are we so serious?
I know, I was like, what is going on? Welcome back.
Sorry, it was my fault. I started off in a very serious note, and I realized we still need to do a new intro.
Oh, yeah. We should do that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just do it today. So you would have heard the new intro just now.
Yeah.
Yay, new intro.
Yay! We did it finally. It only took us
watch us forget to do it.
It only took us like 2 months.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. So we're going to record the new intro and you would have just heard it. So you're welcome, everybody. Sorry for the 2-month delay.
Yeah. It only took us 2 months.
No, it's like 3 months.
No, because
when did you get back?
We couldn't do it for a while because I was in quarantine.
Oh, right.
And then there's some other factors involved and complications and all sorts of
Or
things.
we just got lazy.
Yeah. Well, it's like because we'd record the episode and then we would be like, okay, we'd do something afterwards, like go for a walk or whatever, and then it's like we just never get it done.
Mm-hmm. So but we gonna get it done today.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, guys, so today, what did you say?
That's on our list of to-dos.
Okay. So today, Daniel, would you like to introduce the topic of discussion?
Yeah. So today's topic is, we've kind of talked about this before. Well, not this particular documentary that we're going to talk about, but some of the implications of social media, both on a personal level, but also like on impacting wider society. So basically, long story short, Netflix released a documentary, and I don't know if it's so new, but I think it's pretty new. Because I'm pretty sure it just came up into my recommendations. So it's called The Social Dilemma. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it.
But it does make you question everything in society.
God, it does, yeah. It makes you feel like you want to just like get off of all of social media and everything. Like it's,
no. I mean, not for me.
Yeah.
It didn't give me that vibe.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm sure if someone is already, because I'm like really deep into social media, like it's like my job type of situation. But I think if someone was like kind of like not that into social media, then they might think like, maybe I need to quit social media. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a lot of things on there. Like, I mean, I'm also not going to quit social media. But there's a lot of things on there that just like really made me think. And like there were so many points where I was like, oh, I actually never thought of it like this. Like I knew there was issues with social media before. And yeah, it just made me think very, very differently about a lot of stuff. So it was pretty intense.
So yeah, it's a documentary about the impact, I guess, of social media and some of the things that social media giants do, some of the algorithms that they use and things like that to basically impact your usage. I mean, and again, I feel like it's one of those things where it's really bad, but then you can't help yourself because you're addicted to it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like see, the thing is, I'm on the fence about social media because I don't think that social media itself is inherently bad. Like, I think there's many things like from it, like, because I've seen the way, I mean, and I'm sure like I'm also addicted as well, but like I've seen some of the ways that it impacts my life. And like, especially, and it's probably the same for you, is like, for example, we have a lot of friends all across the world and like social media makes it possible for us to stay in touch with all of those people. Right. So using things like Facebook, Instagram, all of this stuff, like I do feel like more connected. And like once in a while, like just the other day I was on Instagram and one of my friends from London who I hadn't spoken to for a long time, I made a comment to her story or something. And then we've just had like an awesome like conversation. And I was just thinking, without social media, that wouldn't be possible, and I felt that connection to that person, right? But I do agree, like there's this dark undertone to social media as well. And I do think, and I'm like I feel pretty strongly about this, but I could be like, you might think of it in a different light, but I think because we grew up without social media, it didn't come into our lives until about university, right? So I feel like
I would say like high school. Well, I don't know. You'd be a late bloomer.
Oh, because Facebook, for example, was the big kind of catalyst, right? And that was...
No, I mean, well, if you were a late bloomer, yes.
Yeah. Like, I guess you had
I was using, this is
MySpace?
I wasn't really too into MySpace, but
Nextopia?
MySpace was one. I did have Nextopia at
one
point.
Nextopia as well.
And see, that was way before Facebook.
That's true.
And before that, there was a local social media called Calgary Planet.
What?
Did you not know about it?
No.
Oh my God. It
What
was like a big thing. I think a lot of Asians used it.
Yeah.
It was just like for Calgary people.
I think
like Calgary is our city, by the way.
Wasn't Nextopia like a Canadian thing?
I don't know. Guys, comment. Do you guys know what we're talking about when we talk about Nextopia? I don't think it was a Canadian thing.
It was like, and I remember the thing with Nextopia that was so bad is it was like you posted a couple of pictures and then basically what you would do is you would like rate people's pictures because you would get
really
I remember like getting a rating and like me and my friends would like talk about it and we'd be like, oh yeah, look, like I have a 8 out of 10 or I have a 7 out of 10 like overall score,
right?
And people would just like be basically voting for your pictures,
like how hot you are, or
how hot
oh my
you are.
God,
so,
I
like,
don't remember that part of Nextopia. I just remember Nextopia. So basically what happened was, so Calgary Planet, guys. This sounds so lame. But basically, it was like a local social media thing, and you could have your own page. And I was like, when I was young, I was like really into like not web design, but like kind of like designing my own website and stuff. I don't know why, but anyways, so I would like make my own layouts and like I would make them really like cool. Like I use like HTML and everything. I lost all of this. Anyways. So I would make like my cool layout, and then you would have like a guest book, so people could like, it's like writing on someone's wall kind of. So people could like write on your wall or like your guest book, and you could send people cows.
What?
Like, because guys, Calgary is like known as like Cowtown. It's so lame.
What is this website?
I can't believe you've never heard of Calgary Planet. It was big. Well, in Calgary anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then so Calgary Planet was big for a little bit, and then you could see like the way that you could tell if you were like popular or whatever is like how many
cows you had.
I don't know if you could count the cow. I can't remember if like the cows were
countable,
like if they were publicized. I think they were, but also like how many views you got in your page, and also how many guest posts that you have. So fucking lame. Anyway, so I was into that in like junior high. Okay, so I did that in junior high, and then it was Nextopia. And then I was really also into a Korean social media platform. It was called Cyworld. If anyone's Korean and they are like around my age, they would know this. It was huge. And then of course Facebook took over everything, and then everything else died.
Yeah, there was actually another one, but it was more like a video game, but it was kind of like social media as well.
What?
It was called oh my God, what was it called? I think, and I could get this wrong, guys, I think it was called like Habbo Hotel or something.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Where you could create like an avatar basically. And it was like,
sounds familiar.
Yeah, and you would basically like build a house and do whatever. And then you would go like explore, but it was like really weird because like you would just be chatting, and it was almost like you were in a chat room, but each with your individual avatars, I guess.
Right.
And then you would like be talking to people, and everyone would be like, you know, some people would be really
Did you
creepy.
use it?
Yeah, I used it for a little while. And then
God.
I stopped using
we
it.
sound
like,
so ancient
I know,
now.
because then I was just like, oh, that's a bit weird. And
what else? Did you use any other like weird? Did you use MySpace?
I didn't use MySpace.
Okay, so you were very offline until Facebook came out, basically. Oh, interesting. I was really into like all of this stuff. So thank God I wasn't born, a few years after, because if Facebook had come out, I feel like Instagram is like one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, I mean,
in terms of like self-image.
Yeah.
So guys, we're going to talk about this movie. It's not really going to be spoilers. I feel like it's still good to watch because it's a documentary. So we're going to talking about the different, I guess, problems that this movie addresses
and talks about.
So one of the things that I think one of the main concerns for me is the
social image.
Teenagers using social media and them getting impacted because we don't even realize. I feel like I still feel young, but at the same time, when I think about teenagers, I feel so disconnected.
Of course,
So I don't understand what's going on in their head, and to imagine them growing up in the world of social media, it's like, and with Instagram and everything, and girls are already like super insecure at that age, and of course not just girls, but guys as well.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can't even.
Well. The thing is, like, the really sad thing is they brought, and I'm probably gonna get these
statistic?
stats. Yeah,
yes,
I'm gonna get it a little bit wrong, but you'll get the gist of it.
So the gist of it.
The
gist.
Oh.
The gist.
Okay.
Watch, I got it wrong. No, it's the gist of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
continue.
So the gist of it. Anyway, so one of the stats, and it was about like, it did focus on girls though. It said, so basically girls between 10 and 13, so kind of like preteens. And then they grouped girls into like 14 to 18, the teenage category.
Older teens and younger teens.
Exactly. And they said for both categories, since about 2010, which is when a lot of these social media apps became live on phones and mobiles, so you could have them like all the time. You didn't have to have a computer. You could just access it all the time, 24 hours. And they said since then, the rates of both depression within those age categories and with the rates of suicide have like skyrocketed. Because up until that point, it had stayed relatively stable. And then you see this 2010, all of a sudden, both of those like skyrocket.
Yeah.
And what the shocking finding was actually it was getting the most impacted was I think the preteens,
right?
Like the 10 to 13. You were seeing a much higher level,
right?
But both of them had like, and it was like one of those things where it's like such a huge difference from before 2010. So it's like kind of
that's scary.
Yeah.
Because it's like that is a pretty direct. Because what else happened in 2010 other than that kind of thing being more available to teens?
Exactly.
And fuck.
It was like the invention of the not the invention of the smartphone, but like,
the evolution of the smartphone.
Exactly. And having this readily available at your fingertips. And like, even before, I guess, like if you were a young kid and you were posting stuff on like Instagram, Facebook, whatever it was, you'd have to use your laptop basically or a computer. So there was still that disconnect whereby you could post it and maybe go 2 days without seeing it again until you're back on a computer. Whereas as soon as it's at your fingertips, you get notified.
Right, that's true.
So then there's notifications. So you get instant notification to know whether somebody's commented, whether somebody said anything. And one thing I really liked that they did in this documentary is they had this like family. I don't know if you like this, how they acted things out.
It was kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was necessary, but I mean, it was fine. Like I didn't mind it. It wasn't. But yeah, they had like a dramatized kind of family that was like acting through this, and the girl. Well, I thought it was a bit dramatic. Okay.
Parts of it were dramatic.
Like the part where, so basically one of the scenes is the mom decides, oh, this is like bad because they don't, she doesn't want the kids like using the phone at dinner time.
Yeah.
So she has this like device that's supposed to lock whatever for like a certain amount of time. So you add your phones in or cookies or whatever into this jar. And then you press like some kind of button and then it doesn't open until whatever time that you allowed it to. So she's like, let's all do this so we can all chat. So she put all the phones in this jar.
I remember that.
And then the girl that's like 12 years old, like just went to the jar and broke it.
And takes a hammer and is like,
fucking hell, I would have beat her.
And then everyone was like,
And the mom's just like, oh, did that just happen? I'm like, how about punishment or like something? I don't know. Like, a little weird.
And then the girl like grabbed her phone and ran upstairs.
Yeah. And the mom's just like, oh, why don't you go talk to her, to like the dad? And I'm like, this is like, no wonder your kid's just using your phone. Like, that is not, how do I say?
Appropriate?
That is not appropriate. Like, I don't know. I mean, if my kid did that, oh shit.
Oh god damn. Well,
I think getting a spanking.
Yeah, I mean, if my kid did that as well, I'd be like, what the heck?
Oh my god, seriously.
It would be like, now you can give me your phone for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
You ain't getting that back.
Exactly. I would take the phone away. Like, first of all, that's already an issue, right? The fact that she did that, I would have been so alarmed because I'd be like, holy shit, this girl is like so addicted.
Yeah, it needs to be.
Because it was like 5 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't even. It was like, it was like.
I mean, I don't know if this would actually happen in real life.
It was a bit over dramatized.
Yes. But anyways, this girl like breaks the thing and then takes her phone and then she starts taking selfies and putting filters in and
this was another issue that they kind of touched on as well. So to kind of compound with, I guess, youth's and even to some degree our self-image as well is a lot of people like you use these like so many filters, right? And it was getting to the point where they were saying like, young people now, they don't even want to take like a normal picture of themselves.
Yeah.
They just want to use filters all the time. And then they
I'm guilty of that too a little bit.
Well, we all do it, right? Yeah. So this is something that we all do. But I think also, again, like I just feel like on my personal level, obviously it has some impacts, but I feel like when you're that much younger,
yes,
it's a lot more dramatic.
Absolutely.
Because like now you're seeing these filters that are making your skin look flawless and, making you look like a lot different than what you normally look like. And then they start thinking, oh my God, like I wish I looked like this.
Yeah.
But I don't look like this. And then, one little comment like we saw with that girl set her off. Like one kid was like, she was getting all these comments about her picture, like, you're so beautiful. And this was with her filter again. So she's thinking, oh, this filter's making me beautiful. I'm not beautiful myself. Right. And then one person commented like, oh, get your ears checked or something.
Yeah,
Dumbo.
your ears are too big or something. Yeah.
And then that one comment she spiraled and started crying and I could see how that would be so impactful. So
I also feel like, okay, well, first of all, I also realized that maybe 2010-ish is when like Instagram came out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just guessing. Do you want to check?
We can find out.
Yeah. What year did Instagram come out? Because I really do feel like Instagram is also quite problematic. What the mother? Do you hear something?
It's my phone.
Is it your phone?
Yeah.
Daniel?
I'll tell you the story about my phone in a minute, okay? It's
what?
2010.
2010, guys. It
You're
came
right.
out 2010. I mean, I'm not saying it's, correlated, but it is potential, right?
And also the fact that, like, again, that's when really smartphones took off everything. It was like
everyone
crazy.
was using it all the time. And I do feel like it's not necessarily just, because people can like say mean things. It's so much more, I feel like, because I think maybe potentially one of the reasons why kids are becoming more and more depressed, more and more anxious, more and more stressed out.
Yeah.
Is because they don't know how to interact with humans anymore because they're interacting through this device.
Yeah,
I think that's more so the problem than just, like kids are saying mean things, which is a problem, and bullying is an issue, especially on social media. But I think more so because kids are just on this phone all the time. They don't know how to have normal conversation. They don't know how to interact with each other without these phones.
Exactly. So instead they'll be like liking people's pictures, commenting, doing that kind of stuff. But then when it's like the real conversation with somebody, and actually they did kind of touch on that a little bit as well with that guy with that girl that he liked or something. And
he couldn't go up to her.
He wouldn't go and talk to her, but he would like comment, and they had pictures tagged together and like random stuff. And I was just like, okay.
They also said kids like going on dates is like going like rapidly declining.
Yeah.
Which is also a big fucking problem, dude. Well, it's already hard enough to date in this modern world. God damn.
It is so hard.
I'm just trying to imagine like the kids that are like the teenagers right now in 10 years. What is their dating life going to be like? God damn.
Well, they said something too.
I don't know if I want to know this.
Oh, God damn. They said in the documentary as well, they were like, we're creating this generation because obviously they were saying some of the impacts of social media with the youth. We already talked about, depression. There's a lot of anxious, it creates more anxiety.
Yes.
This kind of stuff. So they said, we're basically creating this generation of people that's going to be more extra depressed, more anxious, also at the same time seeking that instant gratification that they would get from posting pictures and doing everything else, and not really being able to communicate with one another.
Which is probably what's exacerbating the depression and anxiety.
Exactly, because we're social beings. We need to be around other people. So the challenge is just that.
So what would you do, Daniel, if you have a little Daniel running around?
Well, we kind of briefly talked about this before.
We did.
And this is hard. This is really because and I'd actually be interested to know some of our listeners' opinions on this as well.
And some of them might have kids.
Exactly.
So I want to know if they're doing things.
And what you would recommend, because the thing that I came up with, and again, it's just like really tough. Not came up with, but originally I was like, oh my God, like I just don't want my kids having phones or whatever else. But then at the same time, by the time we have kids, all the kids nowadays have phones. They have all this stuff. And by not providing that for your child, I guess you're going to make them a target for bullying anyway.
Yes.
So I guess it's like the lesser of evils or whatever. So if I did give my kids phones and things like that, I'd want to like try to, I don't know, restrict their usage when they're at home and stuff. Like I can't really control when they're out of the house, but I don't know. Like this is actually a really interesting topic. So I would like to know from any of our listeners, especially if you have kids, like what are some of the things that you've kind of thought to do or decided to do with your children to kind of prevent or limit the amount of time that they're spending on these apps?
And the
what
problem
about you,
is,
Rose?
well, fuck. Yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, at home, there's a certain amount of control you have at home, right? As a parent. So if I had a child, I would probably, maybe like at dinner time, no phones, things like that. At dinner time, no phones. Yeah. And also like, I think one of the guys in the documentary said like before bedtime, they have like no phones in the bedroom after like 9 p.m. or something that. I think that's a good possibility, a good solution. But then, again, you don't know what's happening in the school and like what they're doing in school, and you can't control what other kids are doing.
Exactly.
So then, God damn, I don't know.
But I do think even just having those remediations in the house.
Yeah.
So I think actually that's a really good one. Like maybe before your kids go to bed, like everyone hands on their phones. So it's like you go to bed and you don't need your cell phone to go to bed. So there you go. You know what I mean? So
God, they should just take it away during classes.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm such a
we
tiger mom.
We've become that generation.
We're now old. Yeah. So now we are like, we're the uncool ones.
Yeah. Because before, remember when we were in union, someone was like,
excuse me, don't you dare take away my phone.
You're not taking my phone away. Are you kidding me? What the hell? Now we're like, we should probably take them away from the kids.
Please take the phones away from the children.
But it's like
if they're like 13, why do you need a fucking cell phone?
Yeah, but the thing is, like,
I probably got mine at 14, but still.
Your peers probably have them, so that's peer pressure as well to have phones. And then also, like, a lot of kids, when they get to 12, 13, is when they're going home by themselves, like, for a little bit. So they might need it to call their parents. And I think that's why initially a lot of parents got their kids' phones, is like they want to have, like, if their parents gets home like an hour after their kid does, then they want their kid to be able to call them if they have any issues.
But then they should just design phones for children.
Yeah.
Like,
but that could be a thing that's in the future. You know what I mean? Kids that phones specific for
maybe
that generation.
I feel like in the beginning people were using, you know, when like the kind of beginning of smartphones, there was still like the dumb phones, like the, you know, more simple phones.
Yeah.
So those still were a thing. And now it's just all smartphones, basically.
It's just all smartphones.
And it's like, so there's no escape.
Generally, if you see somebody that doesn't have a smartphone,
what does that mean? They're drug dealers?
Because I remember I watched this program and they call them because they're really easy to get SIM cards for and stuff. You can get like temporary SIMs.
And they're cheap.
Yeah, and they're really cheap, and you can like drop one and get another one. They call them burner phones.
Yeah.
And every time, so anytime you see, so I'm not saying this.
How do you know this, Daniel? How do you know this so well?
I have a shady past. Just kidding. Yeah. But I mean, it's a big issue, and it's like, you know, I just don't know where to draw the line, I guess. That's going to be a really difficult conversation. I think obviously that's something that you'd have to have with your spouse to find out what your mutual agreement is on that.
Well, let's worry about it when we actually have children.
And when we actually have spouses.
Well, guys, and the next topic. Okay, so that's just one part of the conversation is like what kids are doing and what was another interesting kind of part of the documentary? Well, what do you think was another interesting thing?
The part that really, really got me. And it just made me think a little bit differently about social media, and it makes complete sense because basically, you know, that saying that they say, like, there's a couple sayings in life, but one of them is like nothing is free.
Yes.
Right. So essentially, like, nothing is free. And we look at all these services like Instagram, like Facebook, a lot of these like services, and we don't have to pay for these services. Yeah. So automatically, I mean, I kind of knew that advertisers were paying partially, like, were contributing to how Facebook and these companies are able to survive is through advertisers. But then I didn't take it a step further to think, well, if the advertisers are the ones that are paying for this, essentially they're the customers. Right. And we're the product.
Right. We are the product.
And that's what, like, for me, I was just like,
right. We are the product. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of knew this just because I do YouTube. So, but I mean, obviously I don't think of like my viewers as the product.
No, of course.
I mean, and also I don't know, what am I then?
Yeah. You're an intermediary. No.
I'm the creator. Because I'm not really the product.
No.
I am the product. What am I?
That's actually a really good and interesting question because...
okay, think about it, right? So it's similar, like, let's think about magazines. Advertising has been around for a long time. So it's not just with Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. But, so traditional advertising would be... It's similar as traditional advertising because traditional advertising would have, let's say a magazine and they would say, oh, we get 2,000 readers a month. And that's based on, I don't know how many magazines they sell. And then that's how they sell their advertising space. So it's like similar, but different in many ways. Right. So then do you know what I mean? It's confusing.
But
I am the product.
I would say
because the magazine is the product.
Yeah. So you're like the publishing company. Because like the magazine, so the magazine is...
No, but the publishing company is YouTube. Oh no, YouTube is the magazine. I am the writer.
Yeah.
Okay,
you're the content creator.
I am the creator.
Yeah. So you'd be like...
I mean, we just went all the way around and basically in the end, I'm the content creator.
Yeah. So you would be the one that writing the article for the magazine.
Sure.
You'd have the publisher, that's YouTube, that publishes your article, and they have freelance journalists
that
are sending them stories. So they pick which ones they want and blah, 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 blah.
Sure.
They get paid from the advertisers that pay the magazine company.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like the same thing, but in social media.
Right.
Yeah.
So then why was it harmful? Let's discuss that.
Why is it harmful?
Because like we said, it's been used previously in different ways, in different mediums.
Yeah. So why I think it's harmful and it's different. And again, like you could have a different opinion obviously on this, but like with a magazine, it's like, okay, I as a consumer would choose, first of all, magazines aren't free usually. You have to pay for them.
Yes.
So in some ways you're paying for, and you get articles that I guess it's kind of like YouTube though, because you would watch videos that you're interested in.
Yes.
But you would pay for a magazine, first of all. Secondly, one of the issues that came up here is when I'm watching like TV, or if I'm listening to the radio, or I'm reading a magazine and there's ads that are coming to me, they don't have necessarily so much information on me. What the issue that I think is like with social media is there's no regulation in place that and they talked about this as well. There's no regulation in place to say what information these companies can collect on us.
Right.
So like Facebook, Instagram, they're collecting so much data on us to run these like really complex algorithms to like to push ads to us, right?
And the ads are customized. So this is why Facebook is so valuable.
Yeah.
And that's why these companies, these tech giants, are some of the, did they say they are the most profitable in the world?
Yeah, I think they are, yeah. Because
so
they have such small costs.
Yeah. They have no costs and they have so much like, and everyone's using Facebook. Everyone's using, YouTube.
Exactly.
So they have so much money. They can make so much money because it's very different from traditional advertising in a sense that traditional advertising, you only have like a certain amount of information about the potential user, and it's never fully accurate. Like how do you know exactly who is watching the television in Bob and Joe's house or whatever, right?
Exactly.
But then with Facebook and with all of these platforms, they have so much like specific data on us. And then so if you are an advertiser, this is extremely valuable because they can specifically target the exact person that they're looking for. So if they're looking for Daniel that lives in Calgary, like some 30-year-old that lives in Calgary that, young professional, blah, 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 and they can specifically target that person.
Yeah.
And then of course, then you are fed those ads
multiple times.
And also the platform, another issue is that it is designed to make you addicted.
Yeah.
Because they want you to stay on the platform as long as possible, because that means that you are viewing more ads.
Exactly. So that's a couple. Those are the main. The main.
God, so many fucking issues.
I know, and that whole concept of them tailoring these ads and customizing these ads to you, like really, really tailoring them, and you're just gonna get fed all of these like same ads and everything, like similar, ads and everything else, and it's like.
Oh my God, I'm going to kill your phone. Why is it vibrating?
Oh yeah, I'm going to turn it off. I'll tell you.
Why is it like going crazy? Oh my God. Guys, Daniel's phone's just randomly vibrating.
Did somebody text me?
Can you? Yes.
Oh, okay. No, I'm going to turn it off.
Can you?
So, hang on. Let's see. So basically, I'll tell you what's happened with my phone. It's so sad.
Oh God.
Just a quick break. Quick 2-second break here, guys. So basically, today... when I
are we discussing the phone?
Should I tell?
Yes, tell the story. Tell the story.
So the phone's been working relatively okay.
It's about 500 years old, but
yeah, but it's fine. I mean, it still has no issues. Anyway, I like put it in my side because my other shorts didn't have pockets. I put it in my side like here and had my headphones in while I was biking. And I don't know what's happened to it. And I've done that multiple times and nothing ever happened. And now, for whatever reason, it just randomly just like goes on a crazy vibration and then stops.
I think it's time for a new phone, Daniel.
I'm gonna get a new phone.
I think it's time for a new phone.
Rosebeet.
So you can keep seeing all those ads on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
You got to be a good product.
Exactly. I gotta be consuming lots of those.
Oh my God.
Ads. And like it is even the concept of it is kind of crazy because like, or not the concept of it, but how good they are at this data collection and everything. Because like, for example, I might go on Airbnb.
Oh God. Yes.
And I'll look for like this has happened so many times to me.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, I'll look for something like a vacation destination in Lisbon, apartment. Then I'm not even kidding you. Hotmail, my YouTube, my Instagram, all of a sudden I'm getting all of these ads for excursions in Portugal.
Yeah.
Cheap flights to Portugal. And it's like, that is crazy. It's all linked together.
Yeah. Well, have you heard that? I don't know if this is true. Guys, maybe you can clarify this. But I've talked to my friends about this multiple times. But is it true that your phone listens to you?
Oh my God. Like, there's a debate about this.
Right? Yeah. So I don't know where I discussed this, but apparently, like, let's say you have your phone like beside you, right? Because we always have our phones with us.
Yeah.
And let's say we're having a discussion about like toilet paper. Yeah. I don't know. Which one is the best
really
toilet paper?
random.
Something random. And then apparently, again, I don't know if this is true, but apparently all of a sudden you'll start getting ads for toilet paper. Should we try it? Let's keep talking about toilet paper.
Well, my phone's off now, so.
Damn it. My phone's all the way over there. Do you think it's listening?
It could definitely hear you, Rose. You're loud enough.
Toilet paper.
No, but the thing is too, like, and I've heard this. One of my friends was like, her and her husband at the time were like discussing, and they were like talking about something really obscure. I can't remember what it is at this moment,
right?
But something like really random. And then her husband was like, "Oh, well, why don't we just Google it and find the answer?" And so my friend started typing the thing into Google, and it like pre-filled exactly what they had just been talking about.
Oh,
and it was something really obscure. And she was like, "Okay,
right." So it wasn't like an obvious word that would
It wasn't like for example, like, you know, if you search something, I can't think of anything like Canadian maple syrup. So if you put Canada, maybe maple syrup will come up because it's a huge thing.
Right.
But if you talk about something really like obscure,
and
you type in like the whatever in Canada, and then all of a sudden it fills out this like crazy thing. Like so specific.
Well, I'll let you guys know if toilet paper becomes part of my
search.
Part of my search.
Yeah. Well, this was actually, it's interesting that you bring this up because this was another issue that they discussed with social media and the effects it's having. So we were talking about like on the individual, but on society as well, with regards to polarization.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they brought up, which I kind of knew this, but I didn't fully think of the whole concept myself because I know, like, for example, my YouTube is going to be videos like suggested stuff for me.
Right.
If I type stuff into Google, actually, I didn't know this so much. Like if I type in like climate change, for example, was the example they used in Google, depending on your search results or what you've recently searched, also
or your like internet history, what you usually watch,
also your location, the country you're in, everything else, you'll get different results in Google.
Right.
So when you type in climate change and then the pre-filled stuff would be like, is a hoax or is something real?
So if you live in like Alabama, you might be getting the search. God damn. Or is that a very red state?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, if you live in like a very conservative state, let's say, then there's probably more people that might be searching that. Like let's say climate change is a hoax.
Exactly.
And then you're also going to get that same type of like the recommended searches, so that you're going to get those similar searches.
Exactly. So they said that the effect of this, and also another example is again with YouTube, which again, it makes sense because it's these algorithms, right? So like if I start watching clips on, I always love to go back to flat
earthers. It's a very good example because flat earthers actually became a huge thing after social media.
Exactly.
Because of social media.
Yeah. So like, for example, if I start getting interested, let's say in flat earth, and I start watching all of these documentaries about it, that's going to start popping up in my news feed. And what they said, like constantly, not just on YouTube, but on Facebook and everything else. And they said, what happens is, and this probably takes a little while to happen, but like if you are very like strong opinioned on one thing, and if your social media feed is constantly getting this a reinforcement of that message, basically, you're going to start becoming more polarized in that direction. Yeah. Because you're going to think, oh, I'm right. You know, I'm getting all of this information that's reinforcing what I'm thinking. Yeah. And they said that it's interesting because they've seen this specifically with the U.S. election, how there's been such a polarization of, you know, voters into one camp or the other. So, and part of this is because, again, like if you're constantly getting reinforcing messages that what you're talking about is right, not any other things that would contradict that, you start believing it more. Right. You know? So it's saying it's having this like really negative effect of polarizing people.
Right. Which I think we have seen. And we can see it also in lots of conspiracy theories being thrown around. And also they say that if you're likely to, you know, believe in certain conspiracy theories and have searched those before or watched those, then you're going to be also more likely to be fed more conspiracy type of videos because you obviously like to watch those type of videos. Yeah. So then you start to believe in more conspiracies, which is why a lot of flat earthers also believe in a lot of like other things that are potentially conspiracies. Potentially they think coronavirus is a hoax.
Yeah, the vaccine's gonna have chips in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just crazy. Yeah. And fuck, how do we?
I don't know.
I think education is very important. Like having a proper education system.
Yeah, that's
teach
huge.
You, where they teach you how to not fall into that kind of rabbit hole.
But they also said like part of the responsibility is also on these big platforms.
Well, the responsibility is on the government to regulate these platforms, not these platforms.
This is like
capitalism.
Oh God, there's just so much stuff where it's like, oh God. Again, I'm not disagreeing about free markets and things like that, but I do think.
No, I disagree with free markets.
Yeah, no, I do disagree with free markets as well. That's not what I meant to say, but like,
I know what you mean.
I think that there's some good things that come out of capitalism. But there does need to be this like sense of there does need to be regulation, because like, and this is partly what they talked about in this documentary as well, about how part of the reason why these companies are able to really pinpoint and hone in ads and also videos and things that you're more likely to watch is because of all the information they have stored on you. They know what pictures you're liking. They know what videos you're watching.
Yeah.
Now that's when they said, okay, well, actually, why does this company have all this information on you? Is this something that they need to have for their business? Is this something where the government needs to come in and step in and say, actually, you're not allowed to store all this information on people?
Yeah.
And that will stop some of the problem as well. If they say to Instagram, you know, you can still have ads and stuff, but you're not allowed to store information on Rose about every picture that she's liked, everything to filter what ads she's going to get. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
well, they said one of the suggestions was that it's exactly what you said. And they said to do that, they would put a tax on the amount of data being collected.
Yes.
So then after a certain amount, you would have to pay like a certain amount of tax, which makes sense because they're making so much money.
Exactly.
So it's like, you got to pay. You got to pay the tax. You know, there's harmful things that are happening, and it's directly correlated. I mean, potentially directly correlated to social media. And if that's the case, then you got to pay your dues, man. Exactly. Like there's a carbon tax. There's, you know, tax on cigarettes, alcohol. Why shouldn't there be a tax on social media? Data.
Because essentially what social media companies are is their data collectors.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But have you seen there's another documentary, I think we discussed this. It's specifically about the use of Facebook through the 2016 elections. And I forgot what the documentary is called. It's also on Netflix.
Yeah.
Damn it. But it's like, that's the first one I watched where I was like, oh my God. I think that's why this one was like a little less shocking.
Yeah.
Because when I saw that one, it's basically, because I didn't know too much about the, you know, the whole scandal of Facebook and how that company, there was a company in the UK, I believe, that worked with the Trump campaign, essentially. This is just a very small summary. But this company worked with the Trump campaign to create campaigns on Facebook. Yeah. And Facebook, if you know anything about Facebook advertising, it's again very good at like targeting people. So they would target people, not just right wingers, but also people kind of in the middle where they're kind of unsure. Yeah. And they would just bombard them with really like ads about Hillary or something that's like, Hillary's evil, like Hillary's this, and then make Trump look really good.
Yeah,
and that's
really focused marketing.
Yeah. And like, that's really fucked.
I know. Well, that's what they said. They said in this documentary as well. Because I don't think I've seen that one. I've heard about it.
Oh, you should watch it.
I don't think I've seen it.
But it also makes you like, holy fuck.
Oh, God damn. I don't know if I can watch too many. I watched another documentary. I can't do this.
Well, what was the other one you watched yesterday?
Capital. It was Capital, I think.
And was it all about how capitalism is fucking us all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because like, well, with this whole situation with social media giants and these huge companies, I mean, at the end of the day, they talk about in this documentary as well that the root problem of this is capitalism, unregulated capitalism, because you have these media companies or these social media companies.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're literally making billions of dollars, mining like our data.
Yeah.
And there's no regulation there involved.
Yeah.
And then on top of this, so this is kind of digressing a little bit, but like these companies are also, in addition, filing the income that they're making in different countries to do tax
havens.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
right. Do you think what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. Do you think he's evil?
The thing is, I don't think any of these people.
Sometimes I look at him, I'm like, I feel like he doesn't have a soul. You know, there was like a part in the documentary where they like interview him. Yeah. And he's just like sitting there, just like looking like a lizard or something. Yeah.
I think that he's just very socially awkward. Like I think he's kind of like the classic
he's kind
nerd.
of evil, I think.
But I don't think, because even those people that they were interviewing, because they interviewed like a ton of people that like have worked at Google and all these places.
Yeah, but they're all former workers, which means they actually had a soul, which is why they left.
That's true.
Why would they have left? They left because they had a soul. One of the guys
true.
was like, I left due to ethical reasons.
Yeah. It's crazy.
They were all like high ups, like they were like, you know, big deals.
Senior execs, all of this kind of stuff. But yeah, oh my God, it's just,
I don't know, man.
Crazy as all hell.
It is crazy. But that's the thing. It's like, it's not specifically social media companies that are evil, that are doing these things, and they're not doing it necessarily to cause harm, right? So it's just the unfortunate impact. Yeah. And the thing is, again, it's not specifically those companies. It is unregulated capitalism. That is the root of the problem.
Exactly.
Because if you do this with any industry, if it's unregulated, there will be extreme circumstances, extreme consequences. I'm sorry. So let's say like a tobacco industry, if they were unregulated and they could just advertise to whoever they wanted, they would advertise to children, they would advertise to like everybody, and they would, sell it everywhere, and there'd be no repercussions. So that's why you need to have laws and regulations, and government needs to step in for the betterment of society.
Exactly. It's so important. And I think one of the like big flaws of capitalism is this idea. So there's a couple ideas. Like they say that, capitalism is great because, it pushes innovation and everything and everyone's better off and blah, 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 blah. But what it never seems to address is this concept of like, greed and wanting to constantly grow and, this, and if this is left unregulated, this is what causes the problems.
Yeah.
So,
and it works under some weird assumption that like people are going to do the right thing kind of thing. Leave the market as is and things will just kind of,
work themselves out.
No, it doesn't work that way. We've seen it.
Exactly. There is one point I want to bring up. So I watched this other documentary called Capital.
Oh God. I need
Netflix.
to, should I watch it?
You need to watch it.
Is it going to make me depressed?
I don't think it's going to make you depressed.
I feel like we already know so much of this and we already talk so much about this that it's just everyday conversation. Continue.
Exactly. And it was funny because like some of the recommendations that they were recommending to improve in the next kind of 10, 20, 30, 40 years or whatever is exact stuff that we talked about, which is crazy. But one of the things that they talked about in this documentary, and this was all about, there was a big showcase on the mega wealthy and what this means for capitalism and how this has happened. And one of the things that they were talking about is this idea that, a lot of governments, they'll give tax breaks to, high net worth individuals or this kind of stuff in the kind of this false notion that the wealth will trickle down.
Yes.
I've heard this so many times when they're like, give corporations tax breaks and give these people tax breaks because the wealth will naturally just fall down.
It's never happened.
Exactly. And they did this really interesting experiment.
Yeah.
Whereby they took two players. So let's say me and Rose, for example, and we would play a game of Monopoly. Now, before the game would start, they did this with a bunch of people at the university. So it was a big test. We would flip a coin. Now, based on the results of this coin flip, one of us would be rich and one of us would be poor.
Okay.
So what that would mean, so let's say I won. I won the coin flip. So I would start off with double the money that you have.
Right.
Every time I went past the board, I would get double the money that you got. And also, I got to roll, you only got to roll one dice and I got to roll two.
Right.
So right away, I'm going to win the game.
Sure.
There's no way that you're going to win, right? So anyway, the players play and they notice a bunch of traits that would come out with everybody. So the rich players typically in the beginning they were okay, like they were playing like nicely or whatever, and then all the rich people would start to act entitled. They would start to be kind of like they would say little things like, oh, you shouldn't get that, you don't have enough money, kind of like belittling that person. And the very interesting thing is at the very end of the experiment, so basically all the rich people won the game.
Sure.
And at the end they asked the rich people, they said, why do you think that you won this game? And not one of them said it was because, and the only reason they won the game is because of that coin flip at the beginning.
Right.
Which literally had it's
everything to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not one of them said it.
What?
Yeah, because
what did they say? They were like, oh, because I knew how to play better.
I strategized.
Shut up.
And this is what often happens is they think that they're entitled to that.
Right. They think they earned it.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Exactly. And it's the same thing that you see generation after generation of these mega wealthy families that pass the wealth down to the younger generation, and they think, I've earned this. I'm better than these people that aren't making as much money as me.
Yeah, they're just not working as hard as me. They're not as smart as me.
Exactly.
How is this possible?
And then the wealth never trickles down.
It never trickles down.
Yeah.
It never trickles down. I mean, look at even during this pandemic, the trillionaires billionaires in America have made so much money.
Yeah.
And where is it trickling? It's not trickling anywhere.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. I mean, look at Amazon, for example. They, like, Jeff Bezos made so much money, but Amazon workers were not even being paid like hazard pay. And I mean, it's just like, clearly it's not being trickled down.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Like, even the concept just needs to be like thrown out because it's never happened.
But they think that like one of the good things is they think that like, well, they hope that more and more people, because this inequality spread actually is getting worse
and worse. Yes.
Yeah, because before it wasn't so bad. It was actually we had a growing middle class and things were getting better.
Like in the 60s and 70s, maybe.
Exactly. It was the 60s and 70s. Yeah. And then we had this flip, and now it's like there's this massive inequality gap that's just getting worse. And they said like people are just getting more and more frustrated. So hopefully that can be a catalyst for change. And like
there's gonna be a revolution.
I know. And the funny thing is all of the suggestions, I mean, this might be a little bit too simplistic because I know it's more complex than this, but like a lot of the solutions that they were suggesting, like progressive taxing, for example, like based on how much you earn. And they said even like these people that are billionaires, even after progressive taxing, they're still going to be a billionaire. The difference is they're going to also contribute a lot to the society.
Exactly. And I thought that was the whole point. It's like, if you're rich because you are doing so much for society. Yeah. How about you actually do those things for society?
Well, and another funny thing is they talked about, I think it was Adam Smith was like the founder of capitalism. He wrote,
Adam Smith. Yes, I remember learning about him in economics.
Yeah, he like wrote this book, and it was all about the invisible hand that pushes people.
Oh my God, so fucking stupid.
Anyway, they said, it was so funny. One of the ladies was talking about another big issue is big corporations having and actually high net worth individuals basically sifting money into shell companies in tax havens like Bermuda and other places. And they said when Adam Smith wrote this book about capitalism, it was a very different world.
For sure.
You didn't have these multinational companies that were able to
he couldn't even envision this, right?
Exactly.
Probably.
So, I mean,
he was probably a brilliant mind at that time.
Exactly. And I do agree, like some of the principles and ideas, but again, there needs to be some kind of regulation. And
exactly.
It was funny because like one guy, it was like this French guy was talking, and it just made so much sense. He was like saying, okay, let's say Apple made 50 billion this year, and 5% of that was made, 10% of that was made in France.
Right.
So 5 billion of that should be taxed in France. This is his simple concept. And he said, because at the end of the day, the companies can shift their profits around, but they can't move where their actual customers are.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You can pretend to siphon your profits to Bermuda, but if all your customers are in France, you can't move all of them to Bermuda. You know what I mean? So essentially, I mean, the concept is simple, is like where those companies, those multinational companies are making their profits, that's where they should be paying their tax.
Yeah. So why are we not doing that? It's because countries are also scared that if they start regulating things like whatever, then they're going to pull out.
Yeah.
It's fucking bullshit.
Oh, it's so...
It's so messed up. It really is messed up.
It is, yeah. And
what are we going to do?
I don't know. It's just...
So again, that's the thing. It's not the social media companies. It is the whole system.
Exactly.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
And it continues to be fucked up. And
will continue to be fucked up.
It's getting worse and worse. Like that's the crazy part. I just don't understand. I mean, I understand why, because it's corruption and so I don't know how it's going to be because
and you would think after time and time again these politicians, but you're right, it is corruption, because in some regards these politicians are also paid for, or
they're 100% paid for, which is why they yes,
exactly, because they're always like, oh, you know, the whole idea of the wealth trickling down and all of this stuff. I'm like, it's just been proved time and time again that that's not the case. So that needs to stop being an argument.
Oh God.
But yeah, this is the issue with the social media companies. With the social media companies, it is unregulated capitalism. That's kind of the fundamental. And they said in this documentary, The Social Dilemma, as well. They said there's something wrong, you know, for as long as we're saying that a tree is worth it was worth more to us cut down than alive, and a whale is worth more to us dead than alive, we have problems.
Yes, because, and that's another, his point was that if a tree is worth more financially to us than dead than alive, or cut down than, you know, standing up, then without regulation, people just cut down all the trees.
Exactly.
Right? And the reason why all the trees are not cut down is because of the fact that there are regulations.
Exactly.
So we need to have certain protections. We need to have certain regulations. And that's just across the board for pretty much all industries.
Yeah.
But who knows what's going to happen?
Oh,
I feel like it's harder to measure this kind of stuff with social media and the impact of, and even though we have seen the numbers and we have seen, you know, the rates of depression, anxiety going up.
Yeah.
It is, I guess it's hard to be like, that's exactly why.
Exactly.
So that's why I think it's also harder to regulate, because of the fact that we don't see, like, we can see all the trees being cut down, but we can't see all the kids being depressed, and that it being specifically linked to Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
but I mean, it probably is.
Yeah. But I do think that one solution that I mentioned about how there has to be either some kind of taxation on the data they hold on us, or there needs to be regulation on which data they can hold on us and how much.
And kids should not be on social media to begin with. Isn't there an age limit?
They're supposed
to be.
This is another thing too, is like technically you're supposed to be over the age of 18.
Yeah, but how do they regulate that?
Exactly.
Too?
So there needs to be some, but this is what they were saying as well, is the issue is you have these like really fastly evolving industries and companies and everything else, and the government's like kind of lagging to keep up.
Yeah, because
the regulations lagging to keep up.
Yes, because they showed like the in the very beginning of the documentary, they showed like a chart that was like talking about like the data processing speed or something like that throughout history, and it was like just like and then all of a sudden, like in the last like 10 years, it's like
it just shot through the roof.
Shot through the roof, because it's like think about how much it's grown in the last literally 10 years or even 20 years in our lifetime. Think about it, right? We didn't even start using computers as us too.
Yeah.
Like we did not really start using computers until, I didn't start until I was in like grade 3 or something.
Yeah.
And we had dial-up.
Yeah. Oh God, I had dial-up as well.
Dial-up. Everyone did. Yeah. Everyone had dial-up. So you couldn't use your phone while you're on the internet.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, everyone starts getting, computers.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there was like a beeper generation. Do you remember? There was like a time when there was like people had beepers.
Like pagers.
Yes, pagers.
Yeah.
But it was like a year or something when it was like, and then people started getting cell phones. And then like after the smartphone came out, it was just like, just the last like 20 years, it's just been such crazy development.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's good, but also like we haven't caught up. Like our psychology is still the same.
Exactly. They were saying this is another thing too, is because at the end of the day, fundamentally, like we are animals, right?
Yes.
People are animals, and our way of life and stuff is kind of not primitive, but like
in a way, yes.
In a way, and
we're simple beings.
Exactly.
We're human.
And then you have these really complex machines that are processing things, throwing ads at us and everything else. And they were saying like back in the day, before social media and everything else, is like one of the things that we do kind of subconsciously is we're social beings, right? So you want to fit in with that social group. But what social media has done now, which is why it's caused us like through this kind of curveball, is now instead of trying to like be in a good social group with just your peers, your small peer group, it's like now you have input and from the whole world, basically.
Right,
and it's just like overwhelming. Our brains aren't able to process that much input and feedback into wanting to be a part of society. You know what I mean? And be, if that makes any sense, No,
it makes sense.
Yeah. So that's another big thing about social media is like we are, as humans, not able to process all of that data. Right.
And also the fact that it's all that data and a lot of different people, and also the fact that for example, I wouldn't sit here and tell you that you're, a piece of shit, that you need to die. But people get comments like that all the time online. And it's much easier to say that through a screen. So because of that, you're also getting different, like that kind of stuff is not feedback. Human it's not normal human interaction.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the things that people do online is very different from what you do really in person. Exactly.
Because that isn't normal human interaction. Because, rewind back, I can't even speak. Rewind back in the day before we had social media. And like, if somebody came up to you and was like, you're going to fucking die, I fucking hate you. You're just going to be like, oh my God, this person's crazy. What the hell?
It's not socially accepted behavior, but that somehow, it's not socially accepted online either, but it's much more prevalent online.
Yeah.
And even think about like things that you would do like from a dating perspective too, right? Like I think even in modern romance, they talked about it where the things that you would text people and the way that you would text
100%.
is so different from the way that you would actually speak to somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes, some people will just ghost somebody and like not talk to them. It's like, and just even the, the little things that you send each other, it's not normal human behavior in real life.
But that's what they talked about too. Like again, going back to
modern romance,
is that they introduce this concept that we have different selves. So we have like our real self, and then we also have our digital self and what we present online. Yeah. So that's a whole other.
And if you are a teenager and you haven't fully developed your real self, and you're only spending majority of your time on your digital self, that's why you get fucked up, because you're not mature enough. You're not emotionally mature enough yet to really distinguish between the two. And fuck me, that's fucked,
Yeah, it's crazy.
No wonder, kids are a lot more sensitive now. They're more anxious. They're much more prone to like, all kinds of mood disorders. Yeah. Like this is the result that you get from a very digitized world where people are not interacting like normal human beings.
It's just kind of like we're kind of like we're already moving into this territory.
Yeah.
But it's like wonder like in the next, like kind of 5 years or 10 years where that generation is really going to be entering the workforce and growing, while we're still out there as well. And it's going to be like, oh my God.
Oh God. We're going to be the old ones, be like, oh, kids.
Back in my day.
Yeah. I used to play hopscotch. Yeah. Think about that too, right? Are kids like playing outside?
Yeah.
Like, is that still happening?
I think it is. I see kids on the playgrounds and stuff like outside playing. So I hope that that's still a thing. I mean, it looks like it is.
I'm trying to think about like, what could we do to our children to make them like not fucked up?
Well, I think one thing that you can do is just plan a lot of activities. Mm-hmm. Like, take them swimming, take them to outside,
Daniel,
do a ton of stuff.
I gotta be a full-time mama.
Mm-hmm.
Goddamn, I ain't got no time to be driving my kids around.
And you're not gonna go swimming with them.
I will. I'll be a full-time mama.
You need to be a present and,
present mama.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be homeschooling them.
Well, that might be taking it too far, Rose, okay?
Well, maybe that's a solution. Shield them from the pain of this world.
Oh, God.
No, I would not homeschool my children.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I might as well if all the other kids are just on their phones and they're not actually interacting.
I think if you do homeschool your children, I just think the importance is that they're also getting interaction with younger kids. Like
other children.
Yeah. So if there was like a group, like let's say you and all of your friends decide to homeschool, but then all of your kids got together and played in the playground.
I think that is what homeschool people do.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I'm totally joking about homeschooling.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking like, I mean, if kids are just on their phones, I mean, I just want to know like, I kind of want to like go into a school and just like watch the behavior of I mean that's kind of creepy, but I just want to see like how it is compared to how it was back when we were in school.
I think we would probably be really surprised.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
think so.
and not in a good way.
Oh God. Or maybe we're just creating this dystopian idea of
what our youth was like.
Yeah. Or no, like no, as in like we just like. We're doing that thing where it's like, oh my God, back in the day it was so great, but now it's like hell on earth.
That's true.
We're doing
I think every generation does
and
this.
And all the teenagers are probably like, it's probably fine.
Yeah. They're like, I know.
You just watch a scaremongering documentary.
Exactly. And don't ever tell us that we don't want our phones in the classroom because we will cut you.
Oh God. Anyways, guys, I think we've been talking for a while.
We have. That is a lot of information to take in.
All right. Well, I would suggest watching the documentary.
Definitely.
And come up with your own conclusions. Mm-hmm. If you have any suggestions on how to not ruin our future children, that would be fantastic. Leave them in the comments if you're watching on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do you have to say, Daniel?
Yeah. Have a lovely week.
Yeah. Once again, guys, as always, make sure you tell all your friends and family about our podcast. Mm-hmm. And once again, join us on Patreon for the episodes 1 week earlier than everybody else. Yeah. Okay. And also a bonus episode every single month.
Yeah.
And follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/thesavagepodcast.
Instagram.com/thesavage. Is it?
I mean, you can actually. Sorry. Oh my God. But you can actually go Instagram.com/.
For those of you that are actually using your phones on Instagram, like most majority of people.
Excuse me. That's rude.
At The Savage Podcast.
For those of you that are grannies like me and don't know how to use Instagram, apparently. No, but you can go on.
I know you can. I've just never heard it say like that before.
I know that was weird. Okay, Instagram at The Savage Podcast. Okay, I'm sorry, but maybe you should not be on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or any of these platforms. Just log off and don't be a digital person.
No. That's taking it too far, Rose. I think, again, like I said, I mean, we talked about a lot of the negatives, and we won't go into the positives because it's the end of the episode right now, but there are still some positives.
Yes, veganism.
With social media, exactly. Like
activism.
There's ways to get messages to like such a wider audience now.
True.
So there's a lot of positives as well. So don't take this all as like, get off of everything.
But be careful.
I think again, it's
awareness.
Awareness. And this is why education is so important. To be able to like look at these topics and know what's going on or try to have some kind of understanding and be is it cynical or like not cynical but like
skeptical
be skeptical.
Yes.
Like that's the thing is like you don't take everything for face value. Do a bit of your own research and so anyway that concludes our really fun episode.
Thanks,
on
guys.
The Social Dilemma.
Once another episode on why this world is a shitty place. You're welcome. Have a fantastic day. Bye guys.
Bye.